Alright, what's up everybody? It's your boy Akeen and welcome to today's vlog. Here to give you a late recap of the 2013 NFL Scouting Combine. Now I'm going to talk about the winners and losers of the Combine thus far, but we still have Pro Day workouts to look at. Now I'm going to start with the winners, starting with defensive end Ezekiel Ansah out of BYU. Now during his career at BYU, especially last season, he was overshadowed by Kyle Van Noy, their star defensive end, and Ansah was a little bit under the radar, but he had a freakish workout at the Scouting Combine, and he showed a great athleticism within himself, and I think he could be a top 20 pick because of that great workout at the Scouting Combine. Sticking at the defensive end position, SMU's Marcus Hunt. He had a great Senior Bowl week as well as the Senior Bowl game, and he had a great workout at the Scouting Combine. 38 reps at 225 pounds bench press. Also, he ran a 4.640, and he was one of the best workouts for the defensive end position. And I think he could become at least a late first-round draft selection. He boosted up his stock a lot in that Scouting Combine, as well as going back to the Senior Bowl week. At the wide receiver position, I really like wide receiver Ryan Swope out of Texas A&M. He had a great career as an Aggie, one of the most productive players at the receiver position for the history of Texas A&M, and he ran a 4.34 40-yard sprint. He had a great workout as well, especially in that 40-yard dash. That's really what it's all about at the Scouting Combine, and because of that great score, he could make it to the first round, possibly at the latest a mid-second round selection. I think he could be a good number 2 slot receiver for any team in the National Football League. At another defensive end slash outside linebacker, really a linebacker, Dion Jordan out of Oregon. He ran a 4.640, and he has rare pass coverage ability, and I think he could be a great fit for most of the teams in the National Football League. He has nice fluid hips. He could definitely drop back for pass coverage, and plus he could help stuff the run. He didn't get many sacks throughout his career at Oregon, but he is still a good, reliable player, and I think he could be a top 10 selection because of the great workout he had at the Scouting Combine. And last but not least, offensive tackle Eric Fisher out of Central Michigan. I think he could fight for that number 1 selection overall for the Kansas City Chiefs against Luke Joeckel out of, sorry if I mispronounce your last name, Luke Joeckel out of Texas A&M. He's the highly regarded top offensive tackle, but I think Fisher could give him a run for his money and fight for that number 1 selection. The Chiefs, they ended up picking up Alex Smith from the San Francisco 49ers off of a trade, losing a couple of draft selections for the future NFL draft, as well as this year. They still picked up a good quarterback, and they're looking to pick up a good offensive tackle to protect Alex Smith and protect their investment at that quarterback position. Now I need to talk about the losers. Now I'm going to start with 2 kind of losers because of the situations that they're in. They're really not losers, they're really star players. Now I'm going to start, and they're both on the defensive side, starting with Jarvis Jones out of Georgia. The reason why I put him in the loser bracket because of the situation. He's been dealing with spinal stenosis ever since he started his college football career, and that is a big red flag to many teams in the National Football League because of this condition. A lot of players do not last long, a couple of seasons in the National Football League because of this condition, and a lot of teams are concerned. Now this kid is a top 5 prospect, top 5 overall quality. He's a great defensive end. He can stuff the run, get behind that line of scrimmage, and be a predominant pass rusher in the National Football League. He's a great pass rusher coming out of JUCO college. Then he dominated at Georgia. He's a great talent, but because of that little spinal stenosis condition, that's a little bit of a setback for him, but I still think he could be a top 10 selection. And also, sorry if I mispronounced your last name, Lutuli out of Utah. Sorry, I mispronounced your name. He's a great defensive tackle, and because of his little bit of a condition, he has a heart condition based on the physical that he had for the Scouting Combine, and that could be a major setback. He is a top 10 quality player, just like Jarvis Jones. But because of this condition, a lot of teams are starting to fall back on Star, but I think he's a great defensive tackle out of Utah. Now, the real losers, I'm going to go to the real losers, starting at the running back position. Monte Ball, he dropped dropped his draft status a lot based on his performance. He had bad shuttle workouts, bad agility workouts, and he ran a 4.640, and that's not looking good for many teams in the National Football League. He was actually one of my top 5 running backs. I'm still going to put him at top 5. At number 5 overall, he actually started at number 2, but based on that workout, I had to bump him back at number 5. At the defensive back position, at cornerback, Jonathan Banks, he also ran a 4.640. 4.59 to be exact, and that's not going to be good at the cornerback position. He has to increase that speed in order to keep up with the speedster receivers in the National Football League. At the defensive end position, this was a surprise for me. Demontre Moore out of Texas A&M. He had a great coming off of 10 plus sacks this season. He was a great defensive end, one of the premier defensive ends in college football, and he only posted 12 reps at 225 pounds. That is not good enough. That is a big red flag, and that shows that he lacks strength. So he has to increase his strength and have a good individual workout in order to remain a first-round draft selection. At the receiver position, I need to talk about Keenan Allen. I have to put him in the losers bracket. Even though he did not work out in the scouting combine, I think that kind of dropped his draft status because he is still competing with Cordell Patterson and Justin Hunter of Tennessee and a couple of other key receivers for that first round of this year's NFL draft. He's a great receiver out of Cal, but I think he should have been a competitor and competed in that scouting combine in order to boost up that draft status and become the first receiver taken. And because of that, that is definitely going to be a stock drop on my opinion. And last but not least, and this is an obvious one, linebacker Manti Te'o out of Notre Dame. 4.8240. Come on now, at the linebacker position, he also had a bad game against Alabama. That also dropped down his draft status. He wasn't able to keep up with the players and shed blockers against the Alabama Crimson Tide and that offensive line, which is pretty much NFL caliber players in that Alabama offense overall, and he could not really be an effective player in that national championship. And he ran a 4.8240. That is not going to cut it. Also, Coach John Harbaugh, you saw him on the screen watching in the scouting combine, shaking his head, knowing that that is not going to be good enough. He is definitely dropping it on a lot of people's radars, and he's dropping off a lot of lists in that first round. But hopefully, if he has a good individual workout, he will get back in the mid-first round selection, in which I believe that he can make it back. He just needs to overcome all of this, as well as the off-the-field issues with the hoax of his girlfriend. He needs to recover from that, and I think the good way to start that off is by laughing at yourself, doing well in interviews and just laughing at yourself and beginning to build that confidence back. If he laughs at himself, other people will just brush that everything off, and it will be a good rebuilding progress for Manti Te'o. But he also needs to have a great individual workout. If he does well in that, he will definitely be back in the first round. I actually had to drop him to the second round, mid-second round to late second round on pick because of that 4.8240. That is not going to cut it, in my opinion. He needs to improve overall at that. Now, next I'm going to catch you guys. I need to start giving you guys my top 5 players for every position heading towards the 2013 NFL Draft. And I'm also, just like every other year, going to talk about each individual pick of the first round of the 2013 Draft. And I'm really excited at that. But first, I'm going to give you guys my top 5 players for each position heading towards this draft. And that is going to start next week. And I'll see you guys then. Thank you for watching today's vlog. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.